What if I told you the biggest lie in Hollywood wasn't hidden in the shadows, but carried out in broad daylight, right in front of millions, and Wendy Williams was the perfect target? Because tonight, we're diving into the one question the industry hoped you'd never ask. How does a woman go from being perfectly fine to suddenly labeled mentally incompetent, stripped of her money, silenced, isolated, and locked in a guardianship, only for doctors to come forward years later and admit she never had the illness at all? Was this really a medical mistake or a coordinated takedown? Ask yourself this: who benefits when a celebrity's voice is muted? Who profits when a multi-million-dollar empire falls into the hands of strangers? And why did every person close to Wendy suddenly get pushed away at the exact moment she became too sick to speak for herself? Because this is no coincidence. Not when the same pattern is now circling Nicki Minaj, the one woman bold enough to call out the machine behind Wendy's downfall. Why is Nicki suddenly being painted as unstable? Why are narratives appearing out of thin air? And why are sources whispering that she's next in line for the same guardianship trap? This story goes deeper than money, deeper than fame, and deeper than anything you've seen in a Hollywood scandal. This is a system designed to control, silence, and erase anyone who knows too much or speaks too loudly. And tonight, the mask finally slips. Because the truth about Wendy's misdiagnosis isn't just shocking, it exposes a blueprint. A blueprint that has destroyed stars before her and now threatens the biggest names in the industry. But here's what they don't want you to hear. Wendy's case was never about saving her. It was about stopping her. And if the latest rumors are true, Wendy may not be the last. What comes next will change everything you think you know about Hollywood. For years, the world believed a single story, that Wendy Williams, one of the loudest, boldest, and sharpest voices in entertainment, was suddenly losing her mind. Doctors said she had frontotemporal dementia. Experts claimed she could no longer manage her own life. The courts placed her under a guardianship, and the media painted her as unstable, fragile, and fading. But what if that was never the truth? This wasn't just a medical diagnosis. It became the weapon used to silence her, to take her off TV, to separate her from her family, and to control her multi-million-dollar empire. And the world never questioned it. After all, when doctors speak, who dares to challenge them? But in 2025, everything changed. A new neurological evaluation, conducted by one of New York's most respected specialists, concluded that Wendy Williams never had the dementia she was labeled with. Not a trace of it. Not even early signs. Meaning, she was misdiagnosed. Not accidentally, but according to Wendy's own claims, intentionally. But why? Who would benefit from a false diagnosis? And how did the most outspoken woman in television suddenly become one of the quietest? If the diagnosis was a lie, then the guardianship was built on a lie too. And that means someone wanted Wendy silent. But who and why? As the truth begins to unravel, we're forced to revisit the strange timeline that always felt off. Wendy's decline didn't happen naturally. It wasn't gradual. It wasn't consistent with the dementia symptoms the public was told she had. In fact, something shocking happened. A few years ago, right after she got sober, many people around her said Wendy was improving. Her speech was clearer. Her memory was returning. Her energy was rising. But suddenly, right after a new guardian took over, her condition began to worsen. Or so they said. Her son, Kevin Jr., noticed the inconsistencies. He publicly questioned the decisions made around his mom. He revealed that Wendy's doctor had originally said her cognitive issues were alcohol-induced, yet her team continued allowing her to drink heavily. How does that make sense? Why would someone who claims to be protecting Wendy encourage the very behavior they said was damaging her? Unless the goal wasn't to help her, but to keep her dependent. And then there's the strangest part. Despite multiple independent evaluations showing she was mentally capable, the court continued the guardianship. Who kept ignoring the medical evidence? Who kept blocking Wendy's escape? These questions became louder when Wendy's family revealed they didn't even know where she was at times. They couldn't reach her. They couldn't visit her. They were cut off. Was this medical protection? Or something else? Because right when these questions began gaining traction, another major figure entered the story, one who had a long, complicated history with Wendy. And some people now believe this wasn't a coincidence. To understand why Wendy may have been silenced, we need to revisit the figure many fans immediately pointed to, Sean Diddy Combs. Their history is legendary, explosive, public, and deeply personal. Wendy was one of the first media personalities brave enough to reveal certain rumors about Diddy, rumors about sexuality, secrets, and behind-the-scenes behavior that hip-hop was not ready to discuss. Her accusations weren't subtle. They weren't coded. They were direct. People in the industry say Diddy was furious. Furious enough to allegedly get her fired from Hot 97 by threatening to blacklist the entire station. And that was only the beginning. Wendy also questioned Diddy's role in the Shine case, the mysterious nightclub shooting with J-Lo, the sudden separation of witnesses, his relationship with Cassie, his alleged industry power plays, his influence in New York media, and then something unsettling happened during an interview. Diddy casually brought up Wendy's teenage son for no reason. Wendy went pale. She knew what he meant, and so did viewers who paid close attention. Why mention her son, unless it was a warning? Years later, when Diddy's reputation began crumbling in legal battles and accusations, fans started asking, did someone need Wendy silenced so she wouldn't be called as a witness? Because she knew things. Dangerous things. Things she talked about often. And now, with her misdiagnosis exposed, the questions grow louder. Was she targeted? And was the guardianship the perfect way to control her? But here's where the story twists again, because Diddy wasn't the only powerful name connected to Wendy's downfall. Another entertainment titan enters the story, and the trail leads straight to Nicki Minaj. In one of the most controversial turns of the story, Nicki Minaj stepped into the conversation, not out of nowhere, but with receipts, warnings, and cryptic messages. Nicki has always spoken her mind, but recently, her tone changed. Her warnings became sharper. Her tweets more pointed. She claimed that Roc Nation, the powerful company tied to Jay-Z, had a role in what happened to Wendy. Specifically, she accused Charlemagne, a known Roc Nation ally, of being used to push Wendy toward guardianship. But here's where the story becomes chilling. Tasha K, a media figure with her own controversial reputation, claimed that Roc Nation allegedly had plans to put Nicki Minaj in a guardianship just like Wendy. Her reasoning? Because Nicki is worth too much. Because she's outspoken. Because she won't play along. And the only reason the plan hasn't worked? Nicki is married. Her husband, Kenneth Petty, automatically becomes her financial power of attorney. Meaning, if Nicki were declared mentally unfit, all her money would legally go to her husband, not the industry. And according to Tasha K, Kenny is in the way. Which explains why there are constant narratives trying to separate Nicki from her husband, paint him as unreliable, or portray their marriage as unstable. Because once the marriage falls apart, Nicki becomes vulnerable. Vulnerable the same way Britney Spears was. The same way Wendy Williams was. Is this a coincidence? Or a pattern? And if Nicki is warning us, why are people listening? Because the clues don't stop here. The internet noticed something even darker, something about the timing of Wendy's recovery. And when it's laid out, it doesn't look accidental. The internet exploded when news broke that Wendy never had dementia. One fan wrote, "They ruined her life. Her career, her family, her money, all over a lie." Another tweeted, "They sold her condo, gave away her dog, threw out her clothes, this was abuse." A viral TikTok said, "This isn't a mistake. This is a system, and Wendy is just one victim." Others pointed out the disturbing timing. Wendy was silenced during the height of Diddy's investigations. But the minute his case wrapped up, suddenly she tests negative for dementia? Coincidence? Fans don't think so. And now that Nicki Minaj is speaking up, fans see the pattern repeating. Some headlines even read, "Is Nicki next?" Roc Nation accused of guardianship plot. Fans rally to free Nicki before it's too late. And suddenly, a conspiracy becomes a conversation. A conversation becomes a trend. And a trend becomes a movement. But to understand what motivates these rumors, we need to look deeper into the psychology behind the industry, the motives, the power struggles, the jealousy, and the control. To understand why a celebrity might be targeted, we must understand the psychology of power. Hollywood loves control. It thrives on obedience, on silence, on loyalty. And Wendy Williams? She was the opposite of everything the industry wants. She was loud. She was truthful. She exposed secrets. She criticized powerful men. She refused to back down. Psychologists call this a threat personality. Not because she's dangerous, but because she cannot be controlled. And when powerful people feel threatened, they respond with isolations, character assassination, legal pressure, medical manipulation, financial takeover. We've seen this before. Britney Spears, Amanda Bynes, Martin Lawrence, Kanye West, Michael Jackson before his death. Whenever someone speaks too loudly, whenever they question the system questions them. Are they unstable? Are they erratic? Are they mentally unwell? These labels aren't neutral. They're weapons. A diagnosis can justify a guardianship. A guardianship can justify taking control. And taking control means the system wins. But here's the twist. Wendy wasn't supposed to break free. Her diagnosis was supposed to be permanent. So what went wrong? Because what happened next, no one saw coming. Not Wendy's fans. Not the media. Not the industry. And certainly not the people who wanted her silent. The twist is simple and horrifying. Wendy Williams had multiple independent evaluations over the years, tests proving she did not have the illnesses she was labeled with. But every time, those tests were ignored. Until now. What changed? Diddy's trial ended. Public pressure peaked. New lawyers stepped in. And, for the first time since the guardianship began, Wendy had a neurologist outside the system examine her. And the result? She doesn't have dementia. She never did. She was never incapable. She was never mentally unfit. Meaning, everything that happened to her, the guardianship, the drugs, the isolation, the money control, the silencing was based on a diagnosis that wasn't real. A diagnosis that the system accepted instantly because it was convenient. And now the truth threatens to expose everything. The doctor who diagnosed her, the guardian who controlled her, the system that isolated her, the industry figures who benefited, the media that blindly supported it, and maybe even the people who wanted Wendy silent for their own protection. But if the truth is finally coming out, why are people saying Nicki Minaj is next? In the end, this story is bigger than Wendy Williams. It's bigger than Diddy, bigger than Roc Nation, bigger than Nicki Minaj. It's about a system that decides who gets protected and who gets silenced. A system that uses diagnoses as weapons. A system that hides behind legal language. A system that profits from chaos. Wendy's misdiagnosis didn't just expose one lie. It exposed a blueprint used on celebrities and possibly being prepared for others. So here's the question that remains. If the industry could do this to Wendy Williams, one of the most famous talk show hosts in America, who else could they do it to? And if Nicki Minaj is right, if she truly is next on the list, then we may be watching the beginning of a much bigger war. A war between the industry's silent power and the celebrities who refuse to play along. As for Wendy, her freedom fight is just beginning. And for the rest of Hollywood, the secrets are just starting to spill. The truth is out. But the story isn't over. And there you have it, a misdiagnosis that was never a mistake, but a warning shot to anyone who dares speak too loudly in Hollywood. But now the real question is, do you think Wendy Williams was protected or strategically silenced to shut down her voice, her money, and her influence? Because this controversy isn't just about one woman. It's about a pattern, a system, a machine that seems to activate the moment a celebrity stops playing by the industry's rules. And with Nicki Minaj now calling out the exact same forces, is she the next target or the first person brave enough to expose the blueprint? Tell me what you think. Drop your opinion in the comments because this debate is far from over. And trust me, your voice matters in a story Hollywood wishes would disappear. While you're here, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. Because what we're uncovering next goes even deeper. The secret list of celebrities tied to these guardianship scandals, and the one name on that list that will shake the entire industry. So buckle up, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning.